Gentlemen, I think they're after me and I'm getting kind of scared. So I think it's time to be honest with this channel and tell you guys who I really am. So to do that, it's time to unmask.
We're no strangers to love.
Jim, when you thought I was gonna unmask so quickly, listen, the shtick, I'm still sticking with it, all right? At least for a little bit longer until I feel tired of it. Now, one day may it happen, who's to say? But for now, it just feels so good. Anyway, so I have you here, which means I'm conducting a YouTube filibuster, which is in alliance with Article 7, Section 4 of the YouTube Geneva Convention, which states that if a YouTuber conducts a YouTube filibuster on camera for his audience is now legally obligated to stay before clicking off the video. So you're not allowed to leave until I finish the filibuster. So I'm going to pitch you the idea of the Task Force 420, Task Force 69, Ron Jeremy, multiverse, gun tuber, war movie. Okay, now we're gonna shrink down the title, really, efficientize that, make it more efficient, right? To be more appealing to the masses. This should be a gangbuster hit amongst the YouTube gun guy crowd. But the plan is, with these endeavors, is you got to make a little bit more money outside of the sphere to kind of offset the cost of what this would be, because this one potentially has a lot of money going into it. Now, so we pan in, we cut in slowly onto a grizzled and salty looking Mike Jones, Grantham. He has seen stuff, he has fought this war, and it is not over. And in comes his second rear admiral through the sliding glass spaceship doors, Micah Mayfield, his camera guy. And Mike says, "What's the matter?" Micah says, "There's been a disturbance in Quadrant 4, Sector 69. Now, we cut to the Ron Jeremy's. All right, now Ron Jeremy, the main one, so he's cloned a bunch of himself, okay? So he's cloned a bunch of himself. Now, I'm not sure if the actual Ron Jeremy is able to do it, considering he is in prison. Ideally, if we could somehow, within the movie and within real life, maybe break him out, and it could add a really nice story arc to this whole thing, and it would then take us into space, right, where he now is fighting the intergalactic battle and has taken over a large part of the Confederation of Space Alliances. So he is doing that in that regards. Now he has an Infinity Gauntlet. Now bear with me, I know, hey, that's a little bit of a Marvel thing. Well, okay, so the powers and the time loops of the Ron Jeremys allows them for a little bit more of flexibility. So they now can go into creative worlds and take certain artifacts that would allow them as power tools, okay? So he has one of the Infinity Gauntlets, but he wasn't able to secure a lot of the Infinity Stones. He only has the Time Gem. Now the Time Gem allows him to go back and forth through time. Now this is a big problem, but this is how, you see a lot of Mike Jones pictures where he is clearly evidently he is within history fighting these certain conflicts. So now Mike Jones was back in time fighting against the Ron Jeremy influence. That's why he was going back in time. The latest date that we see photographed, now this is just photographed, is of Mike Jones as a Civil War officer. And that's not to say he was, say, a Roman legionnaire or a Spartan hoplite. So we can take this back further so it has a lot of legs, so we can then tie in the history crowd, right? So we can get these guys tied in with the history. Now, okay, so cut to a different part. We're gonna come back to the historical aspect. We're gonna cut to Brandon Herrera. He's hammering on an AK. He looks hot, he looks sweaty, he's nice and tanned, and in walks me. I'll be the guy. I'll be the guy for this one. I'll walk in and say, "Herrera, the gang could really use a guy like you back. There's been a lot going on with this war." And Herrera would be like, "Nah, I did my time. I'm not going back." But he's banging on an AK-50, right? And I see it and I say, "Working on another AK-50? He says, "Maybe it's none of your business," right? So there's a little bit back and forth because he's salty, right? Something happened, and I haven't kinked out that timeline yet, but something has happened within the task forces of Herrera to be kind of salty, and mainly he's salty at Grantham, right? So they're in reality, currently right now, there's the battle between them two of who's going to get to 2 million subs first. So we could say, in this case, Grantham gets there first. Now, Herrera gets kind of salty about that, right? Or, in reality, if this takes place where Herrera gets there first, Jones would be salty about that. And we would make Jones not want Herrera back, and so that would cause the rift either way. So it can work, right? We just have to, like, minutely adjust that storyline, okay? Now, we bring in Scott of Kentucky Ballistics, who would also be working with Brandon Herrera on the AK-50 due to Scott almost dying from a 50 caliber sniper rifle of some variety, right? Now, he's working on it and is taking his experience, but Scott would be a salty vet, right? He would be like this, really mad, and kind of everyone's really mad because this war's been going on for so long and there hasn't been a resolution. There's been so much loss of life. There's been so much catastrophe going on within this universe that everyone's kind of becoming more jaded, a little bit tougher on the skin. Life isn't having its happiness, and the end goal is to take like this dystopic, nihilistic kind of atmosphere that it is, and to transfer it with a story arc into prosperity at the end of the tunnel, right? So all these guys getting turned into tough men. Tough men create good times is kind of the story arc or the overarching arc of this video. Now, okay, cut back to Lucas T-Rex Arms. He's currently at his shop working on cranking a bunch of Kydex holsters to help with the war effort, and a whole little gear up montage there, okay? And he's still weirdly pumping weights, and he's obsessed with it now. Okay, now we cut back to Mike Jones and Micah. Micah's relating to Mike Jones, Micah's a second rear admiral, relating to Mike Jones, the commander of the fleet. He says, we've been picking up a lot of signal and a lot of disturbances from this Ron Jeremy section, but there's something interesting. There is a distress signal coming from planet XYZ, right? We'll work out the lore of the names later. We'll just work on the main story arc. So there's a distress signal coming from planet XYZ. Okay, well, how do we know it's not a trap? Well, we don't, but this is an interesting one. It's Demolition Matt. Now, I know a lot of gun guys, they think of Demo Matt as not a true gun guy, but he is a true gun guy, okay? So what happened was his ship, he went on a mission, but his ship went down behind enemy lines. Now, here's the question. Does Mike send in some of his guys to go save him? That's the interesting question. But then cuts to me, and I get a transponder message on my device, and it says, doo-doo-doo-doo, and it's like Jones coming in, he says, the Demo Matt went down behind enemy lines, or some shit like that, right? So we had this story arc going on there, right? Where Demo Matt's behind enemy lines. He went down on some kind of mission to help stop the Ron Jeremy spread in this certain part of the galactic quadrant, okay? So that's going on, all right? Now, okay, I'm sorry, I can't keep going. I'm trying my damnedest, but I can't keep going.